Hi friends. By the way, it is Friday, November 6th as I'm filming this. As far as the US election goes, I'm feeling a lot more confident. So hopefully by the time this comes out, everything is still on the up and up. I wanted to try something new on my channel today. I wanted to give a more commentary discussion type video a go on my channel. I've been watching a lot of Smokey Glow lately, and so she is definitely the inspiration for this experiment. And I also have a reason for making this video I will get into in a second. So I've been trying to brainstorm ideas for new content. Actually, as I was doing this, I was filming a Get Ready With Me, a more chatty video where I go a little bit more in depth about all of the ideas I have for upcoming content. And that will be on my Patreon. So please go check that out if you want to know more about my thoughts, my ideas, my plans. I came up with this video idea because in the comments of my videos, I frequently get requests to review specific products from certain brands, some of which I take on and others I have to decline because there are certain brands that I don't wish to promote on my channel anymore. It's really hard to convey that and all the reasons why in a reply to a comment. I really don't want to make the commenter uncomfortable, so I usually just end up leaving it alone and saying, thanks for your input, I'll keep it in mind. And that never really sat well with me. It felt dishonest. So my idea for this video was to touch on all of the brands that I no longer wish to support with my wallet. I'm not going to go fully into depth. This is not an expose on any specific brand. I just wanted to round them all up and put them in one video so that I could use it as a tool to reference. I'm really trepidatious to dip my toe into these waters. I'm definitely going to open myself to a lot more criticism than I normally do. However, I do think this is going to be super helpful for anyone who wonders why I don't review these brands. None of this is new information. This is all stuff that I have heard through other commentary channels, through cursory Google searches, but if it does shed some light on some brands that you were on the fence about, I hope that this helps. I guess that's it. I don't want to go on much longer because I have a lot more to talk about. With all that being said, if that sounds interesting to you, then please keep on watching and let's get started. Ironically, this is reheated coffee. It's not even hot tea. So just to preface, I'm not a perfect person either. The thing is that I'm sure a lot of brands do problematic stuff that I don't know about. I don't want to come off as being hypocritical either. So if there are brands out there that have done problematic things and there are resources to back those claims up, please leave a comment down below. I will absolutely go check them out and maybe make some addendums to this video. Again, these are just a handful of brands that I know of that have sort of crossed a line with me. Take a shot every time I say the word brand in this video, PS. And just to get this out there, I know there are lots of people who feel that they can separate the owner of the brand from the products themselves. I know there are lots of makeup YouTubers out there who decide not to review the person behind the brand, but to just review the products. I'm not a person who can do that. The way I feel about it is I cannot in good conscience give money to these people behind the brands that have points of view that I do not support. Now more than ever, I feel like people behind the brands are no longer behind the brands. They're in front of the brands. They are the spokesperson. They represent the brand and everything they stand for. Hey there, Editing Maddie here. Part of the video has been really bothering me. I really did not explain myself clearly enough in my mind. So let me just try and explain this again a bit more concisely. When you are buying a product, you are directly putting your money into the pocket of the owner of that brand. If you are supporting a brand financially by buying one of their products, you are, in my mind, directly endorsing the owner of the brand as a human being. You are supporting them financially, which means that you are supporting their beliefs, things they stand for. Financial endorsement of their company to me is the exact same thing as endorsing them as a human being. Gosh, I don't know why I couldn't just say that in the video. Anyway, I think that was a bit more concise. I hope that clears things up. I have my notes. Anything I touch on in here is going to be public knowledge. It's all Googleable, so you can definitely go look it up yourself. All right, let's just dive right in. The first brand I want to just get out of the way because I don't really feel like talking about them is Jeffree Star Cosmetics. I got into the makeup game pretty late. I didn't really start to think about makeup brands other than the ones I found at the mall until about 2016. So when I discovered Jeffree Star, I had no idea who he was, what his past was, really dug his style. I thought his videos were incredibly entertaining. And of course, when I found out he had a makeup brand, I dove right in. People could not say enough good good things about his liquid lip products, and at the time I didn't even own a liquid lipstick. Of course, I dove right in and I just purchased a slew of liquid lipsticks. His formula is really great. And that is what is disappointing about a lot of these, is that some of these brands, I actually really enjoy their products after hearing about everything that he has done. I mean, point number one, and really the only point to really consider, is that he's racist. He's made it incredibly clear on multiple occasions. I'm not going to go into any of them because there's too many to count. He's just made it very clear how he feels about people of color, and he hasn't really done anything to better himself. And in the time that I've been consuming YouTube, I have not really seen much personal growth in him as a human being. If I want to claim to be an advocate for human rights, if I want to stand behind Black Lives Matter, I can't really in good faith then turn around and show off my new Jeffree Star merch. Also, a couple of the companies that I talk about here aren't necessarily on the chopping block for good. If these people actually demonstrate change for the better, if the community does decide to give them a second chance, I'm more than willing to give a brand that I like a second chance. But Jeffree Star is not one of those companies, and he is certainly not one of those people. The next one I want to get out of the way is Kat Von D, or KVD Vegan Beauty. Ever since she came out as an anti-vaxxer, I immediately threw my tattoo liner in the garbage. I cannot be putting money into the pockets of a person who doesn't believe in science. I mean, this is all kind of a moot point anyway, because as we know, Kat Von D actually has sold KVD Vegan Beauty and is no longer actually receiving any profits from it. So this is one of those companies that is kind of a gray area to me. There's one more on this list as well. We'll get to them. When the problematic person behind the brand actually completely removes themselves from the brand, what are you left with? You're left with a name that carries a lot of baggage. There is just so much baggage behind this brand that even though she is no longer affiliated with them, the optics of promoting KVD still gives me the no feeling. I just realized that this window was still open. Hold on. I know that she is no longer receiving monetary compensation for any sales going forth. However, the brand still holds that dark history with them, and I don't think they'll ever be able to shake it. I mean, I'm sure a lot of influencers just breathed a sigh of relief when she left, knowing that they could now, without much guilt, start using her products again. But I have been really hesitant to do that. I feel like that just doesn't sit well with me. I want to know your thoughts on this one though. Do you think KVD Vegan Beauty deserves a second chance? Do you think their reputation is just far too sullied for them to make a comeback? They are still the most discounted brand at Sephora. The sales section at Sephora at any given time will probably have about 50% KVD products in it. But let me know how you feel about them. Also, this is in my notes, just boyfriend is a Nazi question mark? Yeah, defending your Nazi boyfriend is it's not a good look. So while we're on the topic of controversial vegan indie brands, let's talk about Lime Crime. This is the one that's a little bit heartbreaking for me. So by the time I entered the makeup sphere, I'd completely missed all of the Doe Deer controversy. I mean, it was ongoing as I was getting into makeup, but the big scandals that happened with Doe Deer, who used to be the owner of Lime Crime Cosmetics, just had a slew of problematic incidents. I mean, there was cultural appropriation with the China doll palette. There was the Hitler costume. What is it with these brands and Nazis? I don't understand. Not to mention that huge credit card security breach that happened on their website a few years back. And when I made my first Lime Crime purchase, I was just sort of discovering all of this. I thought that most of this stuff was in the far past. And so I was still kind of humming and hawing over whether or not I should use their products. This was one of the times where I weighed my love of the products with all of the controversy surrounding the owner and decided for a little while that I didn't care. They just carried certain things that other more commercial brands weren't doing. And to hear that the owner was just so problematic broke my heart. And this is another instance where the owner of the brand and the founder of the brand stepped down. For a while there, it wasn't known whether or not she had fully separated herself. There was a lot of very vague language surrounding that departure. I remember watching this video by Jay Kissa where Lime Crime actually invites her to their headquarters, basically so that they could bribe her with free stuff so that she would get back on the Lime Crime bandwagon. It was a really interesting video because you could see just how hard they were working to fix their reputation. But the one thing that they weren't very clear about in the video is whether or not Doe Deer was still making a profit, even though in every other way she had left. And they didn't really answer that fully, which was very troubling. I did look this up last night and it turns out there really was a clean break. She no longer receives any money from the brand. The company is no longer affiliated with her in any sort of way. So again, this is one of those times where I wish I had a clearer idea of how I feel about the brand. I love their products. I love their aesthetic. So again, it is a whole matter of optics. When I see people promoting Lime Crime on their platforms, I still get that twinge in the back of my brain that goes,
"Ooh, human rights, bad business practices."
Which they haven't. I haven't really seen a full-on apology from Lime Crime denouncing Doe Deer. Correct me if I'm wrong. If there is such a thing, please let me know. Again, I'm not an all-knowing, all-seeing, omniscient being, so I definitely could be wrong about certain things. I feel like there just needs to be a little more separation in my mind. This is another one where I want to know what you guys think, if they're beyond redemption, beyond saving themselves. So diving more into the bigger brands, I definitely wanted to talk about Too Faced. I mean, the most recent reason why most people would be canceling Too Faced would be the absolute garbage fire that was Lisa Blandino. Suddenly coming out of nowhere to voice her opinion on Nikkie Tutorials coming out as trans and not believing her and thinking that she was lying. That's reason enough alone to just go, sorry, Jared, your family's problematic. But there's a couple other reasons why I feel a bit icky when I pick up a Too Faced product and actually like it. I was around for the whole Nikkie Tutorials debacle where she did that horrific collaboration. I just felt so much for her because she was so excited about this huge opportunity she was given. Of course, collaborations are more common now between brands and influencers, but I felt like this was kind of one of the first that was really hyped and publicized, and it just fell so flat. Also, hearing that she did not receive a whole lot of compensation for that was also cause for alarm. Nikkie has said so herself that it was a bad deal. What I don't agree with her on, though, is that she has blamed herself for this. There was a tweet I think I ran into last night that said, "I have no one to blame but myself. I signed the contract." I disagree with that. With a huge business opportunity like that, it's so easy to have the wool pulled over your eyes and to be dazzled by the sheer fact that someone's even offering you a collaboration at this level. Too Faced at the time was one of the highest rated brands. It was held in such high esteem. Of course, you're going to do whatever it takes to make this collaboration happen. In this situation, it is absolutely the brand's fault for not offering you proper compensation for your efforts. I mean, I feel this way about a lot of things, not just makeup brands, but I feel like it is up to the person in power to do better. It's not up to the smaller person to take the high road. They shouldn't have to do that. You know, I do still walk over to their shelf at Sephora and take a gander. I was obsessed with the peach palettes. The Sweet Peach palette, the Just Peachy mattes, obsessed. They were so good. However, it was basically after the Sweet Peach palette and the Peachy Mattes palette that I kind of lost interest in every other launch that came after it. Nothing I saw from them was any more imaginative. I honestly have never seen anything innovative come from that brand in like 4 years. They were bought by Lancome, right? Am I imagining things? And ever since then, I just kind of feel like they have lost their magic. So in the same vein, the next brand that I want to talk about is Tarte. They were one of Sephora's darlings for a long time. I feel like Too Faced and Tarte were neck and neck at some point, vying for supremacy in Sephora. I feel like they were the only two brands that a lot of people talked about for a long time. They were one of the first brands that I really explored. Their products were always recommended to me by an employee at Sephora. Here's the thing, I have fought with Tarte products. Even though people could not stop recommending Tarte products to me, barring their Lights Camera Lashes mascara, which I still think is the best mascara you can find at Sephora, I will say that their powder blush formula is pretty stellar. And also that tinted lip balm. Barring those two products, nothing I've ever tried from Tarte has worked for me. The first foundation ever recommended to me by a Sephora employee was the Rainforest of the Sea foundation. Y'all remember it with the little dropper? I couldn't understand why it wasn't working for me. It left me looking dry, cakey. The finish was just awful on my skin. Oh, their liquid lipsticks are just so drying. Talk about Shape Tape all you want. You can talk about Shape Tape until the cows come home. It never looked good on me. Tarte is one of those brands that has a stable of staple products. They don't dabble a lot in limited edition stuff unless it's for the holidays. Their Amazonian clay blushes aren't going anywhere anytime soon because they sell well and they actually are a good formula of blush. But if I have to look at one more neutral palette with a pop of blue, I will lose my mind. Other than the blushes, I don't think you're going to be seeing them on my channel. And even then, you know what? I could probably find other blushes that are just as good. And I have. Tarte is one of those brands that just has nothing really to write home about. And of course, the biggest controversy I think they've ever faced is the doomed launch of the Shape Tape foundation. What did they think was going to happen? What was it? 13 different shades of white and then 3 shades of not white? And that wasn't even that long ago. I think it was 2018. Of course, later on, they came out with a statement saying, of course, we were going to launch more deeper colors. We're just still working on them. It is the most hyped up foundation of the year. Don't launch it until you have all the shades. Basically what you're saying is that people with deeper skin tones matter less than people with lighter skin tones. And if that is how they value half of their consumer base, I don't really care what they're gonna do next. All right, we've got 2 more to go, so hang tight, folks. The next one is a pretty obvious one, and I feel like I'm not alone in this. Of course, I don't think any of these brands are a big surprise to anyone, but I do think that this brand that I'm about to talk about is the one that's most universally disliked, and that is Morphe. It's hard to let go of a brand that is so freaking affordable. It is really hard as a consumer, as a small creator, as a person who gets next to no PR from makeup brands. Half of my brush collection is Morphe. They were the first brushes I ever bought. The price point is hard to ignore, and now that they're sold in Sephora, it's even harder to let that go. If you don't want to pay for shipping and duties and taxes, especially a person living in Canada, Morphe is one of your only options. And you get what you pay for. It's not like they're the best brushes in the entire world. Also, private labeling or no, their eyeshadow formula is pretty good. There was no one that wasn't talking about the Jaclyn Hill palette when it first launched. And listen, it's a great palette. I have an entire series on that palette. If you haven't seen it yet, I will link it up here. I just cannot get past the inconsistency of quality. It seems like every single palette they launch is a brand new formula. My whole series about Jaclyn Hill was about comparing the old palette to the new palette. And even though they're technically the same palette, they don't operate the same way at all. And the fact that when they addressed that, saying that nothing has changed formula-wise, which is outright just a blatant lie, that really bothered me. I don't understand why brands can't just be transparent with their consumers. That level of dishonesty, even though it might not matter to some people, just makes me think that I can't trust them. There's also the fact that they constantly just collaborate soullessly with really problematic influencers, ones that I don't think should be promoted or have a platform. I mean, Jaclyn Hill kind of notwithstanding, and of course, like the James Charles palette was a project I think that had a lot of heart put into it. Those ones are kind of the outliers for me. I'm just out here trying to find Morphe substitutes at this point. There's probably better out there for a very similar price point. The last brand I wanted to touch on is one that is probably the most heartbreaking for me, and that brand is Anastasia Beverly Hills. It is the one that is the most disappointing to me because I am a hardcore ABH stan. I have always been a huge fan of their eyeshadow formula. I mean, Modern Renaissance was one of the first palettes I ever bought with my own hard-earned money. There are not many ABH products that I don't like. I think the only thing I don't like from ABH is probably their liquid lip formula, and that is just because it is the most drying formula I've ever used in my life. Apart from that, I couldn't say enough about ABH, including the Norvina palettes. And I've also had a lot of success thanks to Anastasia's products. And before I decided to cut ties with them, I had just bought the Norvina Pro Pigment Palette Volume 3. I was going to do an entire palette potential series on it. I was so excited. And then of course, not too long ago, Taj Reed spoke out about how she was treated. Taj Reed is a content creator and also a person of color. I won't go into exactly what happened. There are articles that cite her initial Instagram post, so it's very easily Googleable. Hearing about that and how she was treated by them and how they just dragged the whole situation out and kept her her on a tether and how she was kind of backed into a corner and forced to sign a contract she didn't want to sign, and how they have never ever issued an apology or even touched on it at all is deeply disappointing. As far as I know, if there was a statement that came out and I completely missed it, please let me know. They are one of the brands that I truly wish I could still in good faith use on my channel, because I've definitely had to say goodbye to a lot of eyeshadow palettes, which has left a pretty gaping hole in my collection. I didn't even touch on the whole Rodan and Fields MLM collab catastrophe. So those are all of the brands I wanted to bring forward today. They were just the ones that were kind of at the top of my head, the ones that came to the forefront as soon as I decided to make this video. It is by no means an entire compendium of all the problematic brands in the universe. There are many. And yeah, I could feel sad about losing out on a bunch of this product. But here's the thing, there are so many amazing brands out there that deserve your money. There is a whole world of indie makeup out there that I haven't even dipped my pinky toe into. Most of these are pretty big names in the makeup industry. Honestly, they are not missing my business. It is a completely personal choice whether or not you want to support a company and what they stand for. You might be able to completely separate the face of the brand with the products themselves. I guess in my mind, it means that all of my allyship would just be lip service. You can affect change in this world. The biggest thing you can do is vote with your wallet. You can see the effect it has on certain brands. I mean, again, Kat Von D is in the bargain bin everywhere you go. And I think the biggest reason for that is that people just have had enough. So if you're a person who's just thinking, well, they're so big, what can I do? Think about Kat Von D. So I think that's where I'm going to end this video. I've been talking for far too long. Again, if I've missed any brand that you felt I should have touched on, please leave it in the comments below. I will absolutely go and do some research. And maybe I'll do a round 2. But to wrap this up, I want to pose a question to you. Do you think any of these brands deserve a second chance? Do they deserve a second chance? And if so, why? I'm so curious to know what you think about all of this. With that, let me just quickly rattle it off to you. Here are the many ways you can help out my channel. You can give this video a big thumbs up. You can comment down below what you thought of everything. You can subscribe. You can follow me on other social media. I will leave those right there. Engagement is crucial for small creators. So please, if you can spare a few seconds of your life, engage. I did a chatty get ready with me on my Patreon while I was putting on this face. So if you want to go check out some more behind the scenes stuff, some more chatty videos, please go check out the Patreon link down below in the description box. I hope that you enjoyed this video. I know it was a bit of a departure from my normal content. And also let me know if it is something that you would like to see more from me. Please stay safe, stay sane, wash your hands, wear a mask. And above all else, just be kind and be generous. And if you can't do that today, then just do your best. And hopefully I will see you in the next one. Bye.